Those of you who watch this channel may know that I'm a bit of a cinephile, and you may also know that I've compiled a list of movies that I call off-the-grid movies whose theme is a character or a group of characters who strive to exist off of the grid, away from modern existence, away from the increasingly totalitarian surveillance state and all of the accompanying blights of it. All the blights that accompany living off the grid, but also all of the conveniences that accompany living on the grid, I should say. So I have watched this movie several times now, and I'm convinced that this is the off-the-grid movie par excellence as far as what I've seen so far. It's a movie called Leave No Trace, and it is a beautiful film, beautiful character study. I won't go through the entire plot. I will say that it's rather leisurely paced, so if you're in the mood for some rock'em sock'em kind of entertainment, maybe it's not the movie for you at that particular moment. But even though it moves slowly, I didn't find it dull or boring at all. It is very atmospheric, and it's a movie that has a lot of respect, that treats its characters and its audience with a lot of respect. There's no cheap pulling on the heartstrings or tugging at the tear ducts that goes on in this film, although there are some genuinely affecting emotional moments. The plot generally concerns a man whom we find out is an Iraq War veteran with a severe case of PTSD, and he is living off the grid with his daughter, who is maybe 15 years of age or thereabouts, and they are generally happy in their life off the grid, but it gets interrupted, and they have to return to civilization in one way or another. They're forced to do so because they're discovered. I don't want to give too many things away, but once they go back to civilization, the daughter, who absolutely loves and adores her father, but is also also a teenage girl, she likes a lot of the things that she gets to experience when she gets to go back to civilization, as it were. Now, they never go back they're never urbanites or anything like that, but they are forced to live around people for a time, because they're discovered, and because the authorities boot them off of where they were before, because it's public land and they technically are not allowed to subsist there. I guess those are the rules anyway. But eventually they end up escaping again back to the wilderness, and the father and the daughter both have to negotiate the relationship that they want to strike up between being alone and free and away from other people, and maybe being in some kind of community, whether it's a community that itself is off the grid. You see in the movie there are various examples of people who are living in a manner that it's still there's still communities that they're what could be called parallel communities or alternative communities, I guess. They're off the grid because they're basically out in the middle of nowhere, but they're not in the suburbs, they're not in the city, they're not in recognizable areas. They're like off way off the beaten path. Both of the characters also face physical hardship as the story goes along, and we see again this beautiful relationship, beautiful loving relationship between father and daughter. The mother, we were given to understand, had died at some point, and that's why there's no mother in the picture. But the father is struggling with his demons, and he also wants to take care of his daughter and do it in a way that is free from the coercion that accompanies the modern surveillance state. So they run afoul of that coercion for a while, then they break free from it, and they have differing opinions about various things that they experience. And ultimately, the ending is very sweet, very poignant, and still leave certain threads to be worked out. Not everything is tied up with a bow, the neat little bow at the end of the movie. As far as just the atmosphere and everything, I'm not really a nature person. I don't just think I've never really done. I know you've seen me do my walks through the woods, and that's all well and good, but I'm not somebody who generally I would think of as a survivalist, temperamentally speaking. But I do also know that we live in a very sick culture, and at some point we have to withdraw, and we have to, or I feel like I'm going to have to eventually get off the grid in one way or another. Perhaps not as radically as these characters did, but still, I think it's something that's going to need to get done eventually, and it may become a necessity at some point even. Those are my final thoughts on this movie. I highly recommend it. Again, don't see it if you're not ready for something that's just paced leisurely and takes a while to unfold and doesn't really have any. You know what? That reminds me. There's no violence in it, and I thought to myself when I first saw it, I think I was still on Facebook at the time, and I maybe wrote some post saying that Without a Trace is like First Blood without the violence. And that's like kind of a funny idea. I meant the movie First Blood, not any of the sequels, but the one where John Rambo is just a loner trying to wandering in the wilderness, and he gets harassed by these mean sheriff department, and that sparks off a battle between them. This movie, interestingly, has somewhat the same feel. It's I think that they're both set in the Pacific Northwest and in the beauty of nature, but unlike they're both about a war veteran who is shaken by his war experience and is the strong silent type. Doesn't want to talk about it, just wants to get on with things. Very the character in this, very masculine, very much the masculine prototype, just like John Rambo. Although he's again not he doesn't end up getting into a violent confrontation with anybody and doesn't end up killing anybody. So highly recommend it. See it. See what you think. My name's Andy Nowicki. Check out my work at altrightnovelist.com. Check out my latest book, The Insurrectionist, which can be found at terrorhousepress.com.